Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to today's daily roll-up. My name is Kagan Dunlap, and every day, Monday through Friday, we put together a compressed roll-up of 5 to 7 topics, roughly, of things that took place, and we kind of break them down into short videos, compressed into one long video in this format. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So there is a US-based oil and gas exploration and production company that is located in northern Iraq in the semi-autonomous Kurdistan region called HKN Energy, or Harvey Kurdistan National. And they were targeted by a drone attack on July 15th of 2025, which resulted in a fire at the site, leading to a temporary halt in production, although no casualties were reported. There were actually additional attacks that were reported on July 16th as well at Kermala, Tawki, and Peshkabir, which would marked the third such event in this week alone. Apparently, the drone attack involved at least one explosive-laden drone which struck the field on July 15th, igniting a fire that damaged facilities, forcing the operators to suspend output to ensure safety for all of the workers. Now, apparently, the facility in Sarsang produces roughly 25 to 30,000 barrels a day, which was paused indefinitely pending the repairs and investigations. Now, there's a lot of oil fields in northern Iraq in the Kurdistan region, and HKN Energy is a subsidiary of a Dallas-based Hillwood Energy founded by Ross Perot Jr., and it's been the lead operator since 2011. In case any of you guys missed this yesterday, on July 15th of 2025, Ghislaine Maxwell's family released a public statement asserting that she didn't receive a fair trial and announced their plans to continue to try to appeal her case to the U.S. courts. Now, you can read the statement up here. This is where it is if you want to screenshot it or whatever, but they said that they're going to file a writ of habeas corpus in the U.S. District Court of SDNY to challenge her imprisonment on the basis of new evidence such as government misconduct that could potentially challenge the trial's outcome. They also appeared to try to appeal to the president in hopes that maybe he would intervene in some way. Russian forces conducted a large-scale aerial assault on multiple regions in Ukraine on the night of July 15th through the 16th, primarily targeting energy infrastructure throughout the country as part of their ongoing campaign to disrupt the country's power grid during the conflict. The attack involved one Iskander-M ballistic missile launched from Russia's Belgorod region and approximately 400 unmanned aerial vehicles of various types, including around 255 Shahed-type kamikaze drones that were sourced from the Iranian design and either produced in Russia or adapted by Russia. The drones were launched from various sites in Russia's Kursk, Oryol, and Primorsko areas, with the assault beginning around 8 p.m. local time on July 15th and lasting into the early hours of July 16th. Now, the strikes primarily impacted 4 different regions, including Vinnytsia, Kharkiv, and Odessa. Overall, the assault caused widespread disruptions of electricity and power, with emergency services responding to fires and debris fallout across the affected areas. So far, reports are saying that 15 people were injured in the attack, including one child, primarily from shrapnel and blasts and falling debris. No fatalities were reported in initial accounts, although injuries ranged from minor to serious. The Israeli military confirmed that it conducted airstrikes at the Syrian military headquarters entrance in Damascus, Syria on July 16th of 2025 amid the escalating tensions in southern Syria. Now, there's been clashes between the Druze population in southern Syria and the Syrian military, or the HTS affiliated troops that are down there. A lot of it has to do with tribal relations. In addition to that, there's been civilians from the Israeli side of the border that have been crossing through and breaking down the barrier to get into Syria to go to the Druze cities to join in the clashes, basically because there's a lot of affiliation between the Druze population and the Israelis. So the Druze are an Arabic-speaking ethno-religious minority group primarily residing in Israel, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, and they're known for their monotheistic faith that incorporates elements from Islam, Judaism, and other traditions. The affiliation between a lot of the Druze population and the Israeli state is rooted in the combination of historical, religious, cultural, and pragmatic factors. Now, the Druze have faced significant discrimination or pressure to assimilate into majority identities, which reinforces their preferences basis for Israel's pluralistic framework. And if you go back to like 1948, during the Arab-Israeli War, Druze leaders in the Galilee region formed a strategic pact with Jewish forces, fighting alongside them against the invading Arab armies. And then post-independence, Israel actively worked to separate Druze identity from broader Arab nationalism, promoting them as a distinct minority with full citizenship rights. So really, at the end of the day, the Druze and Israel have kind of a relationship that was built, 70 years ago. So that's why Israel kind of like has the ties that they do with the Druze in southern Syria. So to continue with the story coming out of Syria on the 16th of July, Israel conducted a series of airstrikes on key Syrian government and military sites in Damascus amid escalating clashes in the southern Syrian city of Suwaida, which has been taking place between the Syrian regime forces and the local Druze militias who have strong ties to Israel. Now, these strikes targeted the Syrian Defense Ministry, the Army's General Staff headquarters, and areas near the presidential palace, causing significant damage, including fires and structural collapse at some of the facilities. Now, Syrian state media reported that at least one person was killed and 18 people were wounded, although independent verification is relatively limited considering we don't really have a lot of Western press in Syria local to verify stuff. There were additional strikes that hit Syrian military assets in southern regions like Dara, Suwaida, including armored vehicles, weapons depots, and convoys that were en route to the conflict zone in Suwaida. Now, the Israeli Defense Force stated that these actions were aimed at preventing Syrian forces from attacking Druze communities, emphasizing Israel's commitment to protecting the Druze minority, which has deep ties across the border, dating back to the Arab-Israel War in 1948. Now, there was a short-lived ceasefire in Suwaida, but clashes have resumed, with Druze religious leaders announcing a new truce later that day, although Israeli strikes continued. So the new Syrian military, including the forces of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, have been accused of massacring Druze civilians amidst sectarian tensions. In response to that, hundreds to around 1,000 Israeli Druze residents, many from the Golan Heights, crossed over the border fence into Syria on the 16th of July to aid the Druze folks that are in southern Syria in defending against these attacks. Some of the crossings involved young men, including those serving in the Israeli military, and it was described as pretty chaotic, as you might imagine, with protesters gathering along the fence line in solidarity. So Russia launched a drone attack on a factory owned by Polish Barlanet Group in Vinnytsia, which is a city in western Ukraine, resulting in injuries to 8 workers, including 2 with severe burns. Now, the Barlanet Group, which is a major manufacturer of multi-layer wood flooring, produces nearly 40% of its products in Ukraine, which makes the facility a pretty significant economic target. Now, according to the Polish Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski, the strike was deliberate, with drones approaching from multiple directions, and he characterized it as part of Russian President Vladimir Putin's, quote, criminal war, end quote, encroaching on Polish borders. The U.S. Capitol Police detained a man on July 16th of 2025 near the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. after officers observed suspicious items in his vehicle, and he admitted to possessing weapons. But it's not the type of weapons you would expect him to admit to. Upon closer inspection, the officers spotted a bow and arrow as well as an empty gun holster in plain view inside of the vehicle. Now, the incident occurred along Pennsylvania Avenue, which is just steps from the Capitol, when police noticed an unusual vehicle with a tricycle strapped to its roof, which was this man's vehicle. He had a tricycle strapped to his roof for some reason. Not sure why. Maybe he thinks he's in The Shining. Who knows? The man, whose identity has not been revealed publicly yet as of this afternoon, was detained for questioning and reportedly admitted to having guns in the vehicle in addition to the bow and arrow. Now, authorities stated that the charges are currently pending and that the vehicle is undergoing a thorough search, but no injuries were reported and there's no indication of an immediate threat or connection to any type of broader events, though the detention comes amid heightened security concerns in the area, especially after the Secret Service had to evacuate the White House after a suspicious item was thrown over the fence yesterday on the 15th of July. So far, people are saying that this is a isolated incident distinct from unrelated arrests near the Capitol involving weapons, such as those during protests or security screenings in previous years. All right, so that's it for the daily roll-up for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please let us know in the comments below if there's anything that you think we can do to improve this, whether it be editing or the style or the types of stories we talk about or how deep we go on them. And yeah, we read the comments. The editors definitely read them as well, and they like to see like what they're doing well and what they're not doing well and what we can improve upon, because we're trying to ultimately deliver a better product for you. So please let us know what you thought about this video in the comments below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.